There we go. Okay, hi everyone. I am Rick Zanotti, and this is eLearnChat. We were just trying to make sure the stream was up and running, and it still is. No, it isn't. One of the streams is not cooperating. One. Okay, it's back up. And I'm joined today by I want to call her Doctora Susanna Nash. She just came back from a major trade show in Colombia, Cartagena, beautiful Cartagena. How did that go?
It was really amazing. And what's fascinating about it is that we had a major trade show in Cartagena, the Indias, and it was at the convention center. And it was our first major international event. It was also one of the first major international energy events in South America after COVID.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah,
sign. Well, welcome
yeah, it
back.
was good. Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about budgets. We're going to talk about budgets in e-learning, not just your budget, budgets in general. Where the industry is going, what's happening economically. We're in a little bit of trouble in our little world. And we don't know what that's going to do to budgets, at least not 100%. There's a lot of wishful thinking about budgets, but it seems like real pie in the sky stuff. We'll get into that. Here we go.
This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Visit us at www.relatecasts.net. Thanks.
And we are back. And, well, Susan, what is going on in this world of budgets from your perspective?
Well, I can say that times are changing quickly. And in terms of budgets for training, etc., people want to have things that they can learn, and they need to be certified, training, etc. But there's very little appetite for spending on it right now,
I think you're right. There's a
spending on
lot
development.
between the COVID problems and all of the problems going on with wars and other issues, not to mention the self-inflicted wounds we do upon ourselves by cutting pipelines and other things. I don't know. I don't know where budget's going. All I know is we've seen a decline in budgets. As a company, I know a lot of companies who've seen declines, and that doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Stock market is not a great indicator of an economy, but the stock market's been fluctuating a lot, and I'm not sure even where the market's going. It's coming and going.
Well, I personally think that if somebody wants to develop a program, they need to do it now while they can actually manage the costs,
Mm.
because we're going to get into so much inflation. And at the same time, you kind of need to be able to anticipate where you're going to need to train your employees. Is it for onboarding? Is it for new technologies? Is it for compliance? And then basically prioritize based on that.
Well, it's interesting also, there's been an uptick again in outsourcing and offshoring. That's starting to pick up again. Whereas for a while, I think for several years, maybe 4 or 5 years, it started kind of coming back to at least the US in this respect. Now it's starting to head back out. This is probably due to the pandemic. A lot of people didn't quite do as well in the pandemic. People who had maybe jobs in let's say call centers and stuff. A lot of call centers closed down all over the nation,
Hmm.
different ones, and they've relocated to cheaper environments. Let's say more cost effective, and that's still happening to a point. And where are training things happening? New employee orientation, customer service training is real big. That's one of the largest ones. There's a lot of things that we're seeing that haven't, as far as we can tell, and just talking to a lot of different people, budgets haven't really increased for that. I don't know. You also work with academia, and I know budgets were cut pretty heavily in a lot of different academic places. That's another one. Associations were getting cut big time. Nobody could meet. It's starting to come back, But the minute it starts coming back, here we go again. Oh, there's another outbreak of not much of anything, but it's an outbreak. Um, there's an old saying that as soon as you give people power, they want to keep using it over and over and over again. And I think that's part of what we see, but that's a whole other issue. Um,
Well, I think that there are huge training opportunities
mhm.
and there's training needs, and that has to do with how our world has changed and how we deal with information in general, but also like in the terms of say all different companies. So let's
Yeah.
say from a hospital chain, health administration chain to energy companies, everybody has a new way of dealing with data, and that's basically what AWS and Google and
Hmm.
Databricks and all different types of people, they have the data lakes and the data lake houses, and they share that way.
Yeah.
However, nobody knows how exactly to do that. So I think there's an opportunity for lots of training in that.
So where do you think the training industry on the whole is going? Stand-up training has suffered a lot over the last couple of years, 2.5 years, let's say, because of shutdowns, lockdowns, whatever. E-learning, we haven't really seen a huge growth in it. At least nobody's really talking about a massive growth. There's a lot of projections about massive $300 billion over the next 3 years. I don't think so. And I'm not sure how they even get those numbers. We've been hearing for years that e-learning was going to be a $3 billion industry, then a $6 billion industry. I actually don't know how big the industry is anymore. None of the numbers ever really seem to pan out. Um, what do you see the industry growing the most?
Well, okay, I see the industry growing in upgrading and updating
Hmm.
content so that it can be served up on all kinds of devices. So, for example, just looking at the new Moodle 4.0, I've been really digging into it. And the thing that makes it better than other formats or other versions is that it has a really nice interface where you don't get lost.
Hmm.
So it has better navigation, and it has redesigned icons and sort of a smart navigation, and you can and it all works on your phone. So it's
Hmm.
all responsive. So the themes are totally responsive. So it doesn't matter if you're on your phone or your laptop or your tablet. And so that I think that with those types of breakthroughs in platforms and learning platforms, then people will want to repurpose their existing content so that it works on that, and also that they do um, it, like evaluations and assessments that work on the phone.
Well, it's interesting because that brings up one point of something that hasn't really reached maturity in terms of, let's not say maturity, uh, the depth it could, and that's video. If you're going to go on the phones, traditional e-learning doesn't work. They're too small.
To
However,
text,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, to text or it's just too small. You can't read this stuff. Or, but if you go on videos, all of a sudden now you have much more of an ability to watch a video on a phone. You go landscape, whatever. I mean, you have a phone. Even though you have let's say it's a large phone, like this is the iPhone 13. It's big. It's a big, 6.78-inch phone. So you could go landscape and you have a pretty nice screen. You could watch a video, but the minute you start putting text on, like in traditional learning, where it's kind of small, or you don't have a lot of real estate to put a lot of text, and we know how people like to create learning, books and books on pages. It's just bad, and as a
Well,
result, so the format the more we go mobile, we're going to have to see some major changes in design, and I haven't seen it yet. Have you? Have you really
well,
seen?
I
You
I have, and
have
I've
you? Okay.
seen like yeah. So Blackboard has failed at that,
Mm.
and so and Canvas can do it to some degree, but what I've seen the work well, Canvas does have a responsive theme that works on phones. Now Moodle's new theme works really well on phones, and it's text simple, and then the navigation, it actually remembers where you were, so you can get back to it, start where you stopped, instead of getting lost in the navigation. And then if there's text, they use universal design for learning so that you can either listen to it or you can
Mm,
read it in a
yeah.
Kindle kind of experience.
Okay. But again, content is the key here. And is the content going to be more video oriented? Is it going to be more, it can't be text oriented. That's already been disappearing over and over again. Plus, we have to consider generational learning. Not all generations read a lot or like to read as much. So we have that consideration. Right now, I would say current generations from studies done are more video oriented or audio oriented. Older generations,
Well,
yeah, I know a lot of older generations, they didn't like audio, and you just go, ay, ay, ay. It's hard to satisfy everybody, but at this point, we've got to satisfy someone. And I would say video is probably a good in between or good stopgap for traditional learning to change. What do you think?
well, I think so. I agree with you. At the same time, the philosophy now is, again, universal design for learning. So it's
Hmm.
multiple modes of representation. So what that means is that you would have video and you'd have a transcript and you'd have the audio only.
Hmm.
So you can do you can satisfy your learning preferences.
But you
And
don't see,
then
but you don't see
yeah,
that much in corporate.
what do you do?
In corporate,
Oh, in corporate. All I've seen in corporate really is compliance training. And
there's a
and
lot of that.
that's
Yeah.
like so
Or simulation training.
archaic.
There's a lot of sim training so that you learn an application real quickly and things like that. But you're right. A lot of what you see in corporate training today is regulatory, compliance, anything to protect you from lawsuits.
Well, I will say that Know Before, the training company that does things for uh, phishing and internet security
Hmm.
and it, like social engineering, they have videos plus audio plus like you can get a transcript, and I think you have to actually to comply with
Okay.
some of the regulations, and I think they're really engaging, and then the um, the way that they assess is multiple choice,
Hmm.
and you can't accelerate through, which I find to be not good. But I think if you can skip over and skip straight to the test, why not?
Right.
But
Right.
they won't let you.
Mm. That's like most companies. They want you to stop. It kind of goes against the premise of good adult e-learning. Let people go at their own speed. Let them move fast. If they want to move ahead, let them. If they don't pass it, at one point you go, okay, you either know the material or you don't. If it's job critical, well, maybe there's another person who wants your job. But I don't really believe in stopping people from moving ahead either. Almost everything we do nowadays stops people from moving ahead. You can
Yeah,
argue,
and then the ones where
yeah,
you can go ahead and take the test. If you fail it, then
yeah,
you have to torture yourself through all of it, and it won't let you skip ahead.
right,
But most of them, if it's mastery learning, you have to keep taking it until you get 80%.
right, right, and that makes sense. It actually does make sense. So we're talking about a lot of different subjects. You in the chat room or wherever you are, leave some comments down below. Where do you think the industry is going in terms of where the budgets are, where things are growing, where things aren't growing? Are you shrinking? Are you seeing that your budgets are shrinking? I've talked to quite a few people recently from all across the country who work in finance, distribution, manufacturing, and most of these were either instructional designers or trainers or managers, and they've all shrunk, or they've all been given more responsibilities than they've ever had before, and their departments shrunk. So we're definitely seeing it, and these are all very diverse industries. What's going on? And
Hmm.
and budgets were cut, so they're seeing budget cuts too, where they're not getting quite the amount of budget. It's not drastic, but there are cuts. Or they're saying, well, last year we did this year let's go down. Look at companies like like let's look at hotels as an industry. Marriott's huge. I think
Yeah.
in 2019 they were 23 billion in revenue for the year. 2020, I haven't gotten a good number, but 2021 was something like 13 billion. So that's about a 10
Wow.
billion drop. And they didn't even talk. I could not find good numbers on 2020 anywhere. I don't know why. I just didn't find. I should have gone probably to their actual financial reports. But that's some big drops, and that's one of the biggest hotel chains in the world. Hilton, I think they went from 3 to 2 billion. Again, they weren't as big, but they dropped substantially, 33% of business, and that's happening a lot. So they're an industry where they're not putting as much into training right now. They're going slowly, trying to get things going. There's a lot of industries
Hmm.
like that are coping with the supply chain issues. Companies that distribute, manufacture, they're slowing down, not only in business but in training. So I would say our industry right now is hurting more than going ahead full throttle. Yeah, it's sort of it's a sad thing to see, but I think that's where we're going in a lot of places. And I'm talking mostly to people in the U.S. right now, but I have talked to a couple in South America and others, and they were having the same problems. So it's just I think something we're seeing more and more of, and time will tell.
Well, and if people are desperate to get people trained so that they don't
Hmm.
lose their clients, hard-won clients by
Right.
uh, lots of errors, then they will train, but probably a lot of them start with kind of DIY training in
Right.
house, and then that doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, we are pretty much out of time. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think, and we will see you next week. Susan? Oh, next week
Yes.
are you here next week?
I will be in Houston, but I should be able to get some
Okay.
kind of
All
connection.
right. So then we will see you next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think. You have any insights? Share them. We appreciate it. Bye bye.